Today we are talking about the beginning on doctoring. Where do I even begin? If you're in high school, if you are early in college years, like freshman, sophomore maybe, or if you're non-traditional and have just come to the realization, the calling of medicine, there are some things you might want to know to get started. You might be so overwhelmed with all the information that people are telling you. Um, so let's start at the beginning and start with um, some basic information. So let's go. I want you to spend a moment, please, and think about why do you want to do this? What is it about a life in medicine that excites you? How did you come to even think of this as a pathway for you? How do you know you want to spend your life's work in medicine? Or maybe you don't know and you're just wanting to explore. That is wonderful too. Many reasons why people choose to put good into the world through their life in medicine. People taught the very most common thing is helping people. So we hear that all the time, and it is meaningful. Just because everybody says it or it's the simplest thing to say doesn't make it trite. It's very important. Sometimes people want to give back. Sometimes people love to learn and they love a challenge. So medicine falls into place there. Um, Leadership is an important part of medicine. Think about the skills. We'll talk about that at another session, but the skills you need for leadership often make you a better doctor too. So sometimes people love that challenge. It is extremely rewarding even if you're at the very beginning. Maybe you have done some volunteer work. Sometimes it's volunteer work with your church or a scouting group or another sort of high school club that gets you interested in serving others, helping others, and you feel how rewarding that is, even to do little things, like drive the book cart around or play with some kids in the hospital. Very rewarding. Sometimes people love a challenge and they love all these other things about medicine and they're ready to take that on as a challenge. It certainly is a challenge. You may have some other reasons, which is interesting, and you could drop them in the notes below. But people and people love science, and they put those together and build this life in medicine. It's just extremely wonderful. Now I want you to start thinking. See, if we were in person, we could share our ideas together. But start thinking about who makes a good doctor. Can you please think right now of a doctor that you know, maybe somebody who's taking care of you or a family member or someone you know through other ways? But think about that good doctor. What what qualities do they possess? What makes them a good doctor? What are the characteristics that make a good doctor? People say all kinds of things here. It's an endless list of things that make people a wonderful physician. You have to be smart. You have to be honest. In fact, I always say integrity, your integrity is at the very basis of this life that you're uh, working towards in medicine. You have to love studying. You have to love to learn. Maybe you're a problem solver. You definitely have to center yourself around other people. I don't know that sacrifice is on this list right here, but being other centered, loving to do things for others, and often looking at things from another person or your patient's perspective is very important. Selflessness. You have to be sincere. People say that a good doctor is educated and professional. We're going to talk about that's going to be a whole session and a whole book um, that we need to discuss. Well mannered would be nice, right? In a great physician, somebody who is altruistic and giving, compassionate, ethical, hardworking, personable, involved, engaged in the conversation. In fact, I don't think we did some things that you all usually say in a group. Let's do the last one. Well rounded, having a good life of their own makes us often better givers when we are giving our time to our patients. But you know what's not on there? I bet some of you were thinking of it. Listener, you want a good listener. Um, you want another thing that comes up often is you want somebody who's calm and cool and collected. You don't want to be going to the ER with a terrible emergency for yourself or with your family members, a loved one, and you don't want the doctor to come in the room and go, "Oh my gosh," and freak out because of what they're seeing. You want somebody who's able. Now, I'll tell you, we sometimes are very upset in our minds, but you need to learn how to control that for your patients, right? So, just all kinds of things make a wonderful physician. I want you to look at the list and maybe make your own list and look at the things that you already possess that will make you a good physician. And I think that's a fun exercise. It's in the book coming soon to Amazon, an Amazon website near you. So there, I talked about great rewards, and there are so many ways to do this, so many ways to do this. And the ACGME, look that up, just use a search engine, Google it. ACGME recognizes over 180 residencies and fellowships, specialties, if you will. So after, so when you've become this wonderful physician, now you have to specialize and pick an area. There might even be some things on the list that you didn't know were connected to a practice in medicine, like medical genetics. I think it would be fun to kind of explore, what does a physician who is a specialist in medical genetics do? How do they spend their day? I love to tell young people or people in the beginning to look at rehab medicine, physical medicine and rehabilitation was the older name. I think we call it rehabilitation medicine now. Oh my goodness, it's changed so much. And with um, biomedical engineering and with AI, we've already seen such a tremendous, so many advancements in PM&R or rehab medicine. And with AI, it's gonna just um, explode. So there are all kinds of things. Look them up. That's fun homework. Look up some various specialties that you might be interested in, and I bet there are lots of things when you do that exercise. I bet there are lots of things that you learn about. Um, Often you get connected to this journey because you started to shadow or you helped someone or it was in a healthcare setting or you learn about something that is just awesome, just full of awe. And medicine is full of medical miracles and medical marvels. So I like to share those with you along the way, here and there. So we're going to take a moment for a medical marvel. Okay. This, I like we're going to talk, another whole session is going to be about the art of observation. What do you see? What can you observe just in a photograph, just in a picture? I'm going to play the video for you in just a moment. Um, but what do you observe in the picture? Because we're not in a discussion group, I'll help you. And this is a gentleman, and he is in some sort of room. He's not in the park. He's not at the zoo. He's not in his bedroom or anything. It looks like some type of office, maybe a clinic office, maybe, since the whole topic is medical. Um, his arm is out. There's some blocks and things. I see a pen on a table and I see someone else in the room. So I'm going to make an assumption here. It's an observation that there's an elbow and an arm and a gentleman sitting there. We have to watch our assumptions, but I'm going to make an assumption that the gentleman with his arm out is the patient and the other person that we see here, maybe another gentleman, um, is the physician. So there's a doctor's bag in the back. So we could go on and on just about the still. But watch this. I'm going to point out to you some things that are happening. And it's it's pretty awesome when we get to the end. Okay. Oops. Well, sorry. Spoiler alert. Okay, that was a near miss. I'm editing that out. Um, wrong click. So let's watch the gentleman. Oh, immediately the doctor is placing his arm over here near the man's shoulder. He's holding his arm out. I imagine that the doctor is asking him to hold his arm out. What's starting to happen? What is starting to happen? Look at both hands. Look at the hand in the air and the hand in the gentleman's lap. And there, he's got a tremor. And when he moves, look, the tremor is really getting worse, as is his hand, his other hand. You can see the tremor. The doctor reached over again to the shoulder. And now what is happening? That tremor is quieting. So, would you like to see the medical marvel? All righty, now I'm going to show you what is happening here. This gentleman has Parkinson's disease. It is a movement disorder. Neurologists and neurosurgeons and other people on their healthcare team get involved to help people with Parkinson's. Sometimes, whoever discovered this, sometimes the movement can be helped by placing a deep brain stimulator. You will see in this x-ray that there is a coil of wires at the skull, and then these electrodes are planted deep in the brain to stimulate the areas of the brain that are misbehaving and causing the movement disorder. What you saw in the picture when the physician reached over to the gentleman's shoulder, what you saw was the doctor using a magnet to calibrate the control center. So these wires go into the brain, then they come out under the scalp, down the neck, and usually the control center is planted in the anterior chest wall. So when the doctor reached over, it was a magnet. He turned the initial time he did that, the first time he did that, he was turning off the stimulation. And you could see the tremor get worse. The second time he reached over, he was calibrating the machine to allow some stimulation, and then that quieted the tremor. Like, whoever thought to think to put wires in a brain to stop the tremor of Parkinson's? What a medical miracle! How neat, right? We'll talk about some other things along the way, but I thought you would like that story. Basically, this is your pathway to medicine. You do high school, or the equivalent. You do college for about 4 years. We would always recommend a 4 year. I always tell people, get the most out of your college experience. There's so much to take advantage of on a university campus. Then medical school is 4 years, followed by your first year in residency, which we call your internship year. Your residency can be 3 to 6 years, depending upon what you want to do. So, family medicines and some others are a 3 year residency in total, but 6 years for some surgical specialties. And if you do a fellowship year and specialize within that area of medicine, then that can add years on too. But it's not the years. Don't let the years turn you away from anything, because when you've graduated from medical school and you're a physician as an intern working in a hospital and in clinics to help people, from that moment on, you are having this beautiful life where you're helping people get well and helping people live um, a more healthy and fulfilling life. I hope you notice the little buckets of money. We can talk about finances later, but you start earning a living when you finish medical school. We'll suggest to you that, it's a good salary. You will make I think you'll be surprised at your earnings after medical school. You'll have loans to pay off, and we can talk about that. We will always recommend get those loans paid off right away, but we'll talk about finances. We'll talk about finances when the time comes. But I wanted you to know that that's what those little buckets of money are there for. It means you're making money during all those years. So I think a big tip, one important guideline, is that your high school years and your college years are not solely for med school prep. Okay. They are to be preparation for life. So, besides doing lots of medically related things, this is my point to you, besides doing a lot of things that are in that one area. You need to be well-rounded. You need to learn about the world. Let's go through some of the things you need to do. You need to prepare yourself and you need to explore and see what life is all about because there are so many things. There are so many things. If this is the work you need to do in all of your high school studies, in all of your um, academic work in high school, then this might represent everything you need to do in college. So it might even be more. So there's a lot going on here, a lot to learn. If that's high school and it doubles in college, in medical school, this is kind of representative. You've got something coming at you. You've got studies all day, every day. You will have some break times. We'll tell you how to manage time at that point. But this is why we say you have got to learn how to learn. Okay, from the very beginning in high school or college, from the very first time you think about maybe medicine is for me, you have to be a strong student. Okay, but seek ways to do that. When I talk to a group and it's a group of 30 or 40 or 70 people, when I ask you, have you ever taken a formal study course? Do you know? Can you guess how many people raise their hands and say yes? Not very many. And even in a big center, in a big class rather of 70 people, only a couple of people are raising their hands, maybe 4 or 5 at the most. This is a very good idea. What we tend to do, what most of us tend to do is we love learning and we love the science and we see that we're doing well in it. So we go ahead and progress with our studies habits and our study skills, and we don't really challenge them. We let the challenge uh, come from the class itself or the topic itself, right? I had to take calculus 3 times. So we think about things being difficult, but and maybe that hones our skills, but I want you to be proactive about it. Find a class on your campus. Find the study skill experts on your campus and go visit with them. Um, you need to study smart. Sleep, these are generalities, but you need to study smart. You need to sleep smart. It's not going to stick. Sleeping is the time when it all comes together. All of those things cognitively come together. You need to eat smart, be healthy yourself, and think smart. That means be positive. Don't go through this like drudgery. Okay, you've got to be positive about it. These are some other sort of notes and tips that study skills experts give us. I'm not a study skills expert, but in the manuscript that I'll share with you on this from White Coat Notes, I suggest 2 books to you by Kathleen Straker, and they are Study Without Stress and 6 Steps to College Success. So I can find you those links if you like, but they're on Amazon. Read ahead. Take notes when you're reading ahead for tomorrow. Study it a little bit. Take notes. Look at what the illustrations are. Look what is presented to you in the tables. That way, when you go to the presentation or lecture tomorrow, you are so prepared. It's kind of like a review sometimes, depending on how much time you could spend with it. Review often, even back to the first day of class. This is so important. Do not wait for the midterm to go look at day 1. Do not. Do it frequently. Sometimes people say every day. So you need to go back and review from the very beginning often. Okay. Use study groups. Be a tutor. Use a tutor. Engage with your professors. Ask them questions. Go to office hours. This comes in handy too when you're seeking letters of recommendation. Then you will stand out for the professor, right? As somebody who was very involved with them during that class. Engage with the professors, test yourself often, create your own quizzes. Sometimes people use Anki or another quiz flashcard sort of app. Anki is very popular, but I think it's most helpful when you make your own Anki set or deck. So try that. No cramming. So what you're trying to do is give yourself some really strong study skills to prepare you for all of the academic work, the really hard academic work you're going to have to do in medical school. Okay. So learn how to do it now. You cannot cram in medical school. In fact, if you miss a day of medical school, that's a challenge. If you're ill or something and you miss several days, that's a real problem for people. So be a strong student right now. Read, read, read. Do you know that people who read, like books, like regular books, not necessarily textbooks, but people who read books are smarter, they're better at standardized tests and things like that. So you might develop that habit. If you're not a reader already, it's going to help you. In the early college years, you're going to be choosing a major. Really, it doesn't matter what your major is. You will have science prerequisites. About 50 hours is norm for what medical schools want to see. High school, there are no high school requirements for medical school. So it's all through college prerequisites. So you set out your timeline with your college advisors and set up when you're going to do those science prerequisites. There's an English one there too for a lot of schools. And what else? Statistics. Okay. Get to know your advisor. Where's the health professions advising office? Who are they? Go pick their brain. Go frequently and put it on your calendar right now. Explore those program options. Sometimes you get a lot of, there are programs that'll offer you some flexibility in the courses that you take so you can um, um, study a wider variety of things or have some more elective times. Remember to learn about the world. It's not all about medicine, it's about all kinds of other things too. So explore programmatic options. Like some schools offer a certificate program in the health professions or um, healthcare or healthcare policy and related topics. They'll have a series of things that you can accomplish to earn a certificate, and those are great. Those are great to add to your repertoire. Get to know new people. This is one of my most important tips that I like to share with you is get to know people and get to know the people of the world. And this means talk to people, engage with people, get to know people who are not like you. We all should celebrate who we are and celebrate our backgrounds and languages, traditions, and cultures, religions, etc. But you should also learn how to understand another person's perspective if it's not like yours, understand another person's background if it's not like yours. You're developing a caring attitude and a compassionate attitude. And we're counting on you, young people, to help make the world a better place by acting on this, by learning about other people and their perspectives. Okay. Very, 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 very important. Join a club, join a non-science club, join, getting back to that, getting to know people of the world, join a club that is your heritage, your background, your religion related to you and your family and heritage, etc. But then join another one. Join another one that is completely different than what you know. You'll learn so much and you'll meet those new people, right? And have an appreciation. Join a non-science club, start a club. Maybe you have a hobby or an interest not medically related even. Maybe you love to crochet. That's a thing now, I think. Maybe you love to crochet. Start a crochet club on campus, and then donate things to a good cause. Start a cupcake club where you bake things and donate the money. The ideas are endless. And you need to be keeping track of all of these things that you're doing. That was next. Keep detailed records. We're gonna on the next presentation, number 2 is about Dr. K's shoebox and how to keep track of all these things you're doing. Think like a professional. You're a college student. You're feeling um, free and having fun, and that is all wonderful. But you should also be practicing professionalism, and we'll be talking about those things. Maybe you've seen the videos on the channel already, but you need to think like a professional in so many ways. We'll delve into details later and think like a leader. Even, we've got presidents and governors and mayors and presidents of the pre-med club. Okay. But you don't have to be an officer to act like a leader and to learn leadership skills. Leaders are great communicators. They're very organized. They know how to watch a team and make the team successful. So be thinking of yourself as a leader, even when you sit very professionally in a class and you're engaged. Maybe other people are on TikTok and other people are looking their Instagram. Um, if you are engaged and paying attention and engaging with the discussion in the class, for example, you are exhibiting good behavior, good professional behavior. You're a role model then. So even that little act of, behaving like an attentive, good student who's paying attention is leadership. So start practicing that now, please. Explore medicine. You're still in your college years. Explore medicine, serve others, develop yourself. Look at the application timeline and perfect your time management skills. You're going to do all these things with our help. We'll help you on this channel, and your advisors will help you. Pre-med clubs will help you, and all those things. So you get lots of details about that as time goes by. In later years, year 3 is big for your application in a traditional pathway to medical school. You're going to work on your personal statement and continue with those experiences in all those various areas. I love for you to be learning something new all the time. Teach yourself something new. Teach yourself the ukulele. It's not that easy. I used to joke about it, but I tried it. It's not that easy. Learn something new. What else? A language, free apps. Just use the free app, right? We'll talk a lot about that next time. Prepare your application, make it a piece of quality work. And you'll need to look at your timeline for the MCAT. That takes a lot of preparation, and find some mock interview settings, or read about how to prepare for interviews. And in your last college year on a traditional pathway, you're completing your application and submitting it with your secondaries. Now you're really ramping up for those interviewing skills that you can work on. You want to work on your letters of recommendation and continue all the other good things that you're doing. Um, I would like to say, when you step into the application cycle, this is a professionalism moment. Um, you're going to be submitting things. The schools are going to communicate with you. We are not anonymous. We're real people looking at that, sending you communications and receiving yours back. So do me a favor, please reply. When we ask you to do something or ask for something, please respond and please follow all the directions. This is an important step. Um, so there are lots of details that the schools will give you about our application cycles, the interview portion of the cycle, how we do our acceptances and things like that. So read everything, respond, and especially if we're asking you to do something in those instructions. So read those instructions and follow those directions. Huge, huge, hugely important thing. Check your email, check your spam folder. When you are responding, when you're connecting with us, we have names. Our names are all over the website, but instead of saying hey or hello, maybe search for who you're trying to communicate with. Take a moment to do that, or say hello admissions team. Give us a name. We are giving you a name usually, right? Read all about the schools and processes and keep track, and be grateful that you've gotten this far and are blessed with a great education, blessed with the calling for medicine and the great education, the great brain to pursue all this. So let's see what else. Non-traditional path. Um, not everybody starts on the same timeline, and there are always similar things asked of everyone. So even if you're non-traditional, starting when you're years in a career, actually, you need to be a great student. You need to have great experiences, and you need to have great personal attributes. That's holistic review. Okay, being really smart, good metrics to show your academic strength, great experiences where you're learning about the world, learning about medicine, sacrificing and serving others. And all of those things develop in you wonderful personal attributes that make what? A great physician, right? So when you're a non-traditional student, um, you have to do a lot of similar things, even though your path is different. It's most common to have 1 year out with an unexpected, unplanned gap year. Okay. And usually this happens because of metrics. Usually this happens because of the MCAT, actually. Or, yes, that I would say that's the most common. It is very common. Non-traditional students are not that uncommon anymore. So non-traditional is becoming kind of traditional, just another road. Many people have an unplanned or a planned year off. I think everybody maybe ought to go get a job for a couple of years before you apply to medical school. But anyway, that's the most common one, to take or retake the MCAT. And sometimes that unexpected gap year is thrust upon you, forced, imposed upon you because you didn't get an acceptance. You were in the cycle but didn't get an acceptance. Sometimes people plan it. I think a planned gap year is a fantastic idea. We expect a lot of you. Whether it's college or you're non-traditional in the workplace already, we're expecting a lot of you. So if you plan that time off to get some other things accomplished, I think it's a wonderful idea. So I often suggest to people, finish your college years, finish your degree, um, finish strong with your metrics, then take dedicated study time for your MCAT. Um, I think that predicts success, better success. And I think it's a great thing to do. You can plan some other activities during that time as well. We have a presentation on that down the road too. People who are many years out or more years out are career changers or persistent people. We always see applicants who have worked for 3, 4, 5 years and submitted an application all that time, and just not quite been accepted yet, who then finally do get accepted. So if you're persistent and just looking for ways to make that happen, I hope we can help you more specifically along the way in some of these presentations. So um, within reason, I think persistence and is important and a good thing. We see people who've taken their MCAT 3 times. That's a good thing. It shows you're motivated. We see people applying year after year. That's a good thing. We see that as motivation as long as everything is within range. Um, and then career changers. Um, I think an important thing for non-traditional people is in the application, you do get extra space as a non-trad to explain your path to us. Sometimes we're trying to put the puzzle pieces together. Why are you doing this? If you've had a lot of jobs, we wonder, is this just the next thing you're going to try? There's that that's not really who we're looking for, and probably wouldn't be satisfying to people hopping around too. Um, but people who are teachers want to help people in a different way through health, having better health. We have had students, we had a student who was a journalism person, and she was years in the journalism business and worked for several magazines and et cetera. She was in New York City at 9/11, and she had to do something that was more meaningful and impacted the lives of others in a more direct, purposeful way. Anyway, it's possible, and we love our non-trads too. We're going to talk next time about the shoebox and my shoebox method, and what to put in there. You need some inspiration. You need to be a goal setter. In this series of 10 or more presentations, we're going to talk about getting organized and what the superpowers are, and talk about all kinds of things, specifics. We'll get into the specifics of everything next time. Let me see what I've got. So, oh, I've got another awesome moment. If you want to close with a medical marvel, we can do that right now. Um, and just remember, even, I hope 10 years from now, when you're in the clinic or in the hospital taking care of people, that you will stop every once in a while and think how awesome this is, how it's awesome that you get to help, and it's awesome to see what all the people before you have done to contribute to the health of people. all over the world. So let's do another medical marvel. So this little patient, I love to do this in a discussion group, but I'll just talk you through it. This little person, the first thing I ask you to do is tell me, like, what do you see? It doesn't take too long for people to say that um, the baby's eyes are crossed. Sometimes people know that we call this strabismus. Specifically, when the eye turns in, we call it in towards the nose. We call it esotropia, if you want to look up those kinds of things. But here's the marvel in this. Um, there were Nobel Prize winners in the 50s. I believe it was the late 50s. You look them up, Hubel and Wiesel, and they did experiments on cats. And I'm sorry for the cats, and I'm a cat lover, but they sacrificed for the greater good, and so that we would have this knowledge. So all that aside, all of those feelings aside, Hubel and Wiesel discovered an amazing thing, that we have critical periods in our development, that they learned from the kittens. They learned that they could take one eye of the kitten and close it and have it just be permanently closed with a couple sutures. Probably now they would use super glue, but anyway, they would close one eye. When they opened it up at certain points of time, they would see different things. When the kitten's eye was closed for, I believe it was like 11 weeks, they found that the eye could not see. The eye looked perfectly normal. It didn't like rot away or anything like that. They opened up the lid, it looked perfectly normal, but the kitten was not seeing out of that eye. And so what we've learned, I'll bring you back to the baby in just a second. What we've learned is that you have to have light focused on the back of the eye. Like, think about this. This is an awesome thing. Like, what a marvel. Light has to be focused on the back of the eye for the whole visual pathway from front to back to develop. So what happens when an eye does not get input and the image is not focused on the back of the retina? What happens is the lateral geniculate body undergoes atrophy. It does not develop. It is atrophic, and that is what causes the blindness. So the eye itself looks perfectly fine, but there's not a message getting back to the visual cortex in the occipital area. Is that so interesting? So here, back to the baby. If we leave a baby like this with strabismus or esotropia or another alignment problem, that might mean that that baby is not getting light and image in focus on the back of the eye. So if that's happening in this child, for example, um, if this child gets to be 1 or 2 years old, they are going to have a profound visual loss, a profound. So the biggie, we're talking like they can only see the biggie. By the time a child is 5, it's very, very hard to work on. But when they're little like this, we look for any other issues that could be related, and there are many, but we're not going to do ophthalmology right this minute. We look for that. And then what we do is we penalize the good eye. So we put a patch. I bet somebody listening has had patching in their past. It's a pretty common thing. So we patch the good eye, forcing the baby to use their bad eye and get the light, the image more strongly focused on the back of the eye. And that's how we fix them when they're little. And it's an amazing thing to watch. It's the plasticity that we see is just amazing. In fact, in modern times, recent years, we know that we used to think adults weren't plastic at all. I mean, in terms of their nervous system and developing pathways that were gone. But now we know there is some plasticity. Anyway, that's a medical marvel for you. And we'll wrap it up with uh, my mnemonic about some important things to do. Climb, challenge yourself, learn something new, teach yourself something new, improve yourself, meet the people of the world, break out of your comfort zone, do things that are challenging on purpose. Be purposeful, be organized, be disciplined, use reflection, be positive, be confident, and make a personal growth plan. We're going to talk about some of these things later on. Okay. So I hope you got something out of it. It's meant for, people at the beginning of the path. In a couple of weeks, we will put up the next presentation, which will be with the shoebox method and details of that very important personal biography part of your application. Anyway, I always enjoy helping you along the way. So until next time, I'll say goodbye and y'all take care and do good things.